actually healthy perspective on success in our industry. Because I think if you're
Yeah.
just always trying to focus on doing a good job and being a good person, I think played a little bit into that too, because you can still, be that person that is really working hard every day and be an asshole. Like there are definitely those
100%.
people, but I
Yeah.
think it's a combination of that, like you said, good work ethic and just always wanting to be your best on top of, being a good person. Um,
Yeah. I think too little focus is placed on personality because the same goes with athletes. If you have an athlete that performs well but constantly is like, getting busted for something
mhm,
outside of the sports world, there's a tipping point at which the talent and the hassle of dealing with these other issues just one is going to outweigh the other. And it's the same with
right.
photography. If you're not a pleasant person, because there's a lot of times when you're in close quarters with these people, and I think being a good person to stand next to at a baseball game for 4 or 5 hours will get you a lot farther, because then if somebody knows you're good to work with and that somebody knows somebody else and an
Mhm,
opportunity comes up, you know, it's just that's I think a lot of people too, part of the hustle grind culture is sort of that like, I do this on my own, I made my own name, I did this for myself. Like people kind
yeah,
of get a little too individualistic, and I think they forget the fact that you gotta network and just be a good person, and don't forget that element of it, because like not everything is going to come down to how fire your Instagram is. Like there are a lot of people who have great Instagrams, but like I would not want to have to work with them, and I would pick somebody else over that. It's
mhm,
There's not enough attention I think paid to that.
that's true.
Yep.
It's I don't know. I always feel like Instagram and all that stuff is going to end up getting regulated one day, and then people are going to end up having to go back to square one if that's all they.
Yeah, well, with the new thing they have that I saw that was like, it's probably not even that new, but like basically they're like, hey, we own your stuff and we can do stuff with it and make money off of it. So
Mm,
thanks. Um, it does put me in the mindset of like, okay, you got to remember that like these platforms, like at one point I thought MySpace was like the thing. We're all I think we're going to go in through those same sequences with everything that we have, where there's going to be
mhm,
something else that comes along that we're all going to migrate over to, and we can't let this one platform be carry more weight than it should in what we're doing. I do think it's made me more aware of like having, when I look at my portfolio, I am more aware of like sort of the colors and the variety of like how I want things laid out. But um I do find myself getting way too into Instagram sometimes, and like I'll update that and then my website will not have been touched for like 4 months.
right.
Like, I'm
Yeah,
like, I need to
guilty here
fix
too.
this. So yeah. So like, yeah. But just like, yeah, definitely being a good person and just being nice. I have this thing where like, I don't know, I'm just nice to everybody I meet. And there have been times when like that was advantageous because I didn't realize that somebody was like a higher up, but I
Mhm,
just be a good person. Like you never, ever, ever know, you know, especially like in a workroom or something. Watch what you say. Watch how you present yourself. When, granted, right now that seems like a distant memory of like, 20 people in a workroom together working photos and stuff. But
what do you feel like the difference is between, and sorry, this will probably be my last question so that I can get you off here, but what do you feel like the difference is between somebody who is just a good person and works well with others compared to somebody who is like a brown noser or likes to kind of kiss ass to get where they need to go?
hmm, good
Because I mean,
question.
I see, like, you can kind of see both people doing their thing, and kind of you can't tell which one's kind of being the same person, like
Yeah.
that's a big fear of mine, is like coming across as somebody who's like just brown nosing to get my way into something. Like I
I
just
think
feel like.
it's, yeah, no, like, well, you can tell if you're around somebody often enough and they're selective with who they're nice to and who they
Mm,
greet with enthusiasm. Like I show up. I'm not trying to say like I've done this right and I'm just perfect all the time. It's just like I genuinely kind of am like a puppy, and I just see people and I'm like, hey, what's up to
right,
everybody. I'm just like, how's
right.
it going?
live life like a puppy. Gotcha.
I basically do, yeah, and some people are like that, and some people are like house cats. It's fine, you need all types. I'm just always I mean, like, I'm an introvert, but I also just when I see, especially my photo friends, because like, especially now, because we just don't see them as often, I get
Mhm.
excited, but I'm kind of the same way with a lot of people. Um, I think. But yeah, no, there's definitely some people that like they won't say a word to you, but then like some, VIP comes into the room and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And you're like,
Mhm.
"Okay, noted."
Yep.
But if you ignore me, but then you talk to other people, it's like, okay.
Mhm.
People notice that kind of stuff. And then yeah, the same goes for just like kind of people who maybe talk, like I said, was talking about with like the guys at like the Super Bowls and the Olympics and stuff. They don't really talk about their work.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of think that when people talk about their work a lot and they try to make sure like, look at this cool photo I took, I'm like, okay. I don't know. I just feel like, let your work talk for itself. That's kind of
Mhm.
like a tenet of mine. Like and that's another weird balance too, is like being proud of what you've done and acknowledging something that you've done well, but then also like not coming off as too like stoked off of your own talent.
Well, we live in an industry where talking about your work and showing your work is super important. So like I
Yeah.
think a lot of the times, you can I've definitely been guilty of it where like I didn't need to be talking about my work in this conversation or this particular conversation, but somehow I ended up working my work into it. I have
Yeah.
a friend that is a actor, and I think that he always feels like he's got to be projecting his like
Like on.
actor life. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a fine balance between like promoting yourself in a like a healthy way and then like I think some people get too much. And again, I think some of it's like that hustle grind culture where you just feel like you constantly got to
Hmm.
be like, look, look, look. And it's just, I don't know. I'm sort of caught in between though, the two. Like I did come from kind of like a more of an old school editorial. Like my first, where I learned all of this stuff was in more of like the vein of sort of the news world and
Hmm.
that side of things. So I don't really have as much. I don't know. I'm somewhere between those two because I'm kind of like in this new vein of like doing the social thing and trying to figure out presets and stuff. But then there's also this old school side of me that has this news side from my USA Today time. So I'm kind of caught between like those two worlds. So like
Hmm.
I haven't been a freelancer, so I don't know how I would handle trying to promote my work in a way that was
Yeah,
engaging. For
yeah.
me, it's just I would probably be bad at that because I'd be like, "Hi, this photo might be okay, but it might not be. I hope you like it." I don't know if I would be able to be. It's just a weird tone that you have to kind of set for yourself, where you have a confidence about your work, so people
Hmm.
can tell that you know what you're doing and they can trust that you know what you're doing. Um, and that's another thing is like somebody who's kind of like not super confident, trying to go into something where you know how to do what you're doing, but projecting that in an open way so that people can then trust you and feel comfortable with you. Like that's been a challenge I've had to overcome. So I don't know. But in workrooms, I will advocate for not talking too much because it's
Yeah.
a tight space and everybody can hear you. And the likelihood that, if we're all at a game, other people got a similar shot to yours, but you're the only one being like, wow, I nailed this. It's like,
Yeah. You're
okay.
that guy.
Yeah, yeah, just don't do that. Don't do that. Just let it speak for itself.